Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, Fortune Favors the Bold, written by GiovanniPolder. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. The first chapter. Beep beep beep. The alarm rang loudly throughout the entire room. Out from the covers, a muscular arm rose. With care learned over the years, he pressed on the alarm, just gentle enough to not crush it. His arm moved in the blanket quickly enough, still trying to catch some more sleep. "Honey, get out of bed." A soft feminine voice spoke. Instantly the covers were thrown to the side and the man sat up. A mess of blonde hair on his head, and tired eyes as he looked around the room. His well-defined back now showing. Easily seeing the muscles, able to point out the traps, lats, lower back, and delts. Each one was visible as he sat in bed. His large rough hands rubbed his face, before making their way over his head, brushing the golden locks back and more in shape. Pressing his hands on his legs. Pushing himself up with a sigh. With the cold air, blowing on his well-defined chest, slowly he made his way to the bathroom. The large bedroom's floor was warm as the automatic heating had taken effect. He opened the door to the bathroom. The natural light illuminated the room perfectly. The large granite countertop to his side. Dozens of products are placed neatly on its rack, organized by effect and size. Walking to the toilet, the man took a pee. "Toshi, your shake is banana today, your choco strawberry is empty." The voice yelled. "No problem." He yelled back, his deep voice nearly booming through the house. The man in question was Toshinori Yagi. He stood at 7 feet and 3 inches tall, 220 centimeters tall. Over 270 kilograms of pure muscles, nearly 600 pounds. He was also known as All Might, the #1 hero of Japan and the symbol of peace. Dropping his underwear, and stepping into the shower, he heard the voice again. "In the hamper." Toshi's head ducked down slightly in embarrassment as he softly opened the door, grabbed his underwear, and placed it in. "I already did that. Come on, Angel, what do you think of me?" he said shyly as we now see the woman in the kitchen. She shook her head as she heard the shower turn on. Her hair was a soft yet vibrant green, it reached just to her lower back, neatly combed and taken care of. She looked slim, yet under the skin, layers of muscles hidden, honed through years of hard training, yet hidden due to the enjoyment of her own cooking. She turned around, holding a chopping block as she walked toward the blender on the kitchen island. Her soft hands held it gently, before leaning the block over it and pushing the banana into the blender. "Oops." She turned around, her slim arm lifted as she pointed her middle and pointer fingers at the item, before folding them back into her hand. The jar of peanut butter and spoon were surrounded in a light green ethereal light as they started to float upwards, softly going towards the woman's hand. Grabbing it from the air, she grabbed a large spoonful of peanut butter to add to the shake. The woman was Inko Midoriya, the girlfriend of Toshinori. Standing at a small 160 centimeters, 5 feet and 3 inches. With a soft smile, she made the shake. She herself was a hero. The ranked 30th hero is known as Telegreen. Inko had allowed her heroing to take a back seat as she wanted to pursue a different dream of hers. Toshinori stepped down the stairs. "Hello, honey." He was neatly dressed, just a green pair of cargo briefs, with a long-sleeved white shirt on top. "Don't you think you are dressing a little light? It's a far bit away." Inko wondered, worried for her boyfriend. "Don't worry, Inko. I will be all right. If you finish that, you will get the slipper," Inko said with Toshi instantly stopping. She gave him the blender, no point in dirtying cups if he could drink it straight. He always made the same joke if he could, and after hearing it a billion times, she was okay with not hearing it this early. "Well, I have eaten, so you want to go?" Inko nodded. She had already eaten and was ready. Skipping happily into the hallway where she grabbed her coat. A large puffy coat. Finding her phone and keys on the table. "Now then. Let's head out." All Might nodded as he threw on his large leather jacket. Holding Inko's hand, both stepped out. The fresh cold hair hit them hard in the face, but both smiled. Hand in hand both walked. Their first stop was a bus station. Of course, it took long for them to be seated. Toshinori was one of the most famous people in Japan. You could run toward a small rural town on a small island that is still classified as Japan. Show his picture and they could tell you exactly who he was. So with some pictures and smiles, both were seated. Journey took but a small 10 minutes, before they made it to the subway. With the subway, it was a slightly longer 45-minute ride. It took so long because of who they were. Both Inko and All Might were rich. All Might earned good money as a hero, but with interviews, posters, and figurines, he earned even more purely royalties. Inko Oswell, just on a smaller scale. Both lived in a fancy area. The high-class neighborhood. The streets were cleaned daily. The trees were trimmed, and heroes patrolled nearly hourly. It was the perfect place, but because of that, it was expensive. Then below that you had the middle area. The largest area. Where mostly everyone lived. Your families with an average income. Schools, stores, and the like were all mostly found there. The heroes patrolled, but there was still crime, some thugs and villains ran around causing trouble nearly every day. But lastly, where Inko and Toshinori were going now. The low-income housing. The crime area, or how some even called it. The lawless area. Crime was a daily occurrence here. Robberies, theft, and murder. Each happened the most here. Barely any heroes patrolled, and the ones that did were most of the time as corrupt as the villains. But it was the cheapest area, thus some people had no choice. In that area, Inko wanted to be safe. That area Inko made it her mission to better. Others had tried, but they always backed out. New rookie heroes, trying to make the world a better place, only to get swallowed up and spit out broken. But Inko was not just some woman. She was her own hero. Are you sure, Inko? I think maybe near the other area, it would be smarter. Toshinori said, not wanting to see her here. He believed in Inko. She was by far one of the toughest people he had ever met. But, he loved her more than life itself. She was his everything, the light that brightened the dark world he came face to face with as a hero. He just didn't want to see her ever hurt. Don't worry, Toshi, I am a hero myself. Inko said with a smile as she kissed his hand. She understood his worries came from a place of love. Oh, this is it. Inko said. The building she had just bought was a small worn-down old restaurant. Graffiti on the walls, hateful slurs, hateful symbols, broken glass over the floor, and windows smashed. It would take a lot of work. Well, let's see if we can look around. Toshinori said. He noticed a large metal container pushed over and pressed against a wall. That's strange. He said as he dragged it out of the way, before placing it back on its wheels. But as he moved it, they heard something thud. Seems it wasn't empty, Toshi said with a small smile as he looked around. He noticed blood on the floor, not as dry as he would like. Ripped fabric. It looked strange, even rotten food thrown and stamped on. But as he looked in the container, he felt his stomach drop. His face went wide with fear as he spoke. His voice filled with worry and urgency. Inko, call the hospital. He said quickly. He reached in. Inko, already worried, nodded as she grabbed her phone and started dialing, wondering what he saw, but as she saw that he pulled out, she nearly dropped her phone. Inside All Might's hands was a boy. He looked to be only 10 or so years old. Pure skin and bones. His right arm still paining. It looked mangled. Clearly broken and seeming sliced open. His right leg is much the same. Both did not wait for an ambulance to show up. Toshi felt the weight of the boy. He weighed nothing. Covered in filth, and he wasn't sure if this boy was already dead or not. His muscles bulked up, growing in size as each of his muscles became more defined and stronger. He rushed forward, Inko holding onto his back. He rushed at high speeds, nearly bashing through the walls of the nearest hospital. "I need a doctor!" Toshinori yelled loudly. His form now clearly All Might. As he stood massive, multiple doctors and nurses ran up. Wondering what was wrong, each one at a loss for words as they saw the condition of the boy. Nurse, call trauma response, ready in or. Call surgery, tell them ahead. Move, move, move. One of the doctors yelled. He felt the pulse of the boy, it was barely beating. He is alive, but barely. I don't have time to talk right now. The doctors said. Inko and Toshi understood. Toshinori released his form as both nearly dropped in worry. Both could leave, they had brought the kid to safety and could go on about their day, but that was not them, they needed to know. The doctor came back after nearly 30 minutes. Are you the boy's parents? He asked. Unsure, as he wasn't sure All Might had children, but he had to ask. Anger clear in his voice. No, we found him in a dumpster, just like that. Oh dear. Well, good, he is in surgery right now. Sadly, we had to amputate both his arm and leg. The doctor spoke, sadness clear in his voice. What? From what I could see, his arm had been broken and sliced. Most of his arm was already dead by the time he came here. Same for his leg, but I hope we can save some of it. He sounded hopeful. He would rather not see this young boy's leg and arm be completely amputated. Oh no, the poor baby. Doctor. One of the nurses gave him a file. Why, you don't happen to know who the boy is? The doctor asked. Both Inko and Toshi shook their heads. We don't have any information on him. Not BLD work, not dental, nothing. Both Inko and Toshi stayed in the hospital, worried for the boy. Their drives as heroes made them want to save that boy. After nearly 3 hours, he was out of surgery. Both Inko and Toshi had gotten a report. Being All Might had its perks. What the hell, Inko said in clear shock. She was said. They had gotten some information on him. Most of it was deleted, but as they did a quirk test, they found a match. Izuku, no last name. Age quirk, makes the user slightly stronger than your average person. Inko expected more, but that was it. He was born 14 years ago. He barely looked, oh my. Toshi said as they looked through the list of injuries. Multiple fractures all over his body, and a massive break on his right arm, that was badly healed. Signs of burns over his arms and back. Multiple bruises, and cuts. Malnutrition, dehydration. How is he alive? Toshinori said, shocked as he named some of the injuries. I have seen these injuries on torture victims, Inko said, swallowing that thought. The idea of this 14-year-old boy being tortured hurt her. They had amputated his entire right arm, up to the shoulder. For his right leg, he was slightly more blessed as it was done slightly above the knee. He still had a little leg left. He was sedated as of now. And both Inko and Toshi could only look in shock. They both believed he had brown or black hair, but with his face and body having been washed, they now could see clearly. He had white hair, and his body looked as if it was shrunken. But they knew. His body had not been given the right nutrients, if any, to correctly grow. Izuku's eyes adjusted to the bright light. Confusing as to why he saw the sun so brightly. The last he remembered, was one of the large men, to attack him again. He didn't remember it all. He remembered a bottle to the face, very hard. He also remembered a sharp pain in his arm, before seeing black. He heard the men speak. Die there, you filthy rat. Izuku begged and begged as his tiny weak arm slammed against the metal, but his mind turned blurry and he fainted. Then he saw more light, a blond man, before then seeing more light. As his eyes adjusted, Izuku was in a new room. He looked around fearfully. Scared, not knowing where he was. He tried moving, but his body didn't allow it. He was stuck. "Oh, you're awake," a soft voice said, one that soothed the worry in his head. He looked at the door. He first noticed the large man, Toshi, seeming like a mountain, a monster that tormented him. And then he saw the other one. Inko. Her soft smile and slow movements put him at ease. "Hey, how are you?" they said. She quickly saw his worry and stopped. She had just taken 2 steps in the room. "Hi, I am Inko. Can I come closer?" Izuku shook his head. He didn't want her to get closer, he was scared. "Are you sure I can't come closer?" This time Izuku nodded. She could, but he also closed his eyes and braced himself to be hit. Inko already started to figure it out. "I won't if you don't want me to, we can just talk from here, right? Do you know your name?" A soft, broken, hurt voice spoke up, I'm Izuku." So softly it was barely a whisper, "Hi. This big man is Toshi. Can you tell me who your parents are?" Izuku shook no. His head moving faster and faster. No, not them, I can't, sir said he would hurt me bad if I ever came back." Izuku spoke quickly, his voice as loud as he could, clearly in fear of this, "sir." "Oh okay, then you won't, there is no need to worry. I'm here to help you." Inko took a step closer, her hand almost reaching the bed. She saw Izuku drag his foot back as best he could. She bit her lip, struggling to hold back her tears as she saw this child recoil in fear at a simple hand. A young boy scared of a simple hand. "I won't hurt you, sweetie. We are just here to help," Inko said softly as Toshi kept his distance. It was weird for him, most scared people clung to him the second they saw him. To them, all might meant they were saved, but this child recoiled in fear if he so much as took a step toward him. The nurses that entered the room were trouble. Izuku was extremely scared and defensive toward them, he shook in fear each time one came close in order to try and help him. Redoing his bandage and checking on his IVs. "Hello, Izuku." Inko and Toshi showed back up. It had been the second day, both had wanted to stop by again. "I talked with the doctor yesterday, and I made you some food," Inko said softly as she walked in. Izuku was still fearful, but at the idea of food, he had his eyes open. Inko placed the black bowl on the small table in front of him. "You should watch out and blow it." As Inko let go of the bowl and took a step back, Izuku attacked it. He instantly dove his head into the hot bowl of soup and started slurping it. Izuku was not allowed. Too much. They needed time to slowly build up the acids in his stomach. To not overwhelm his system. It's why Inko had made her own soup. Carefully made and strained to not overwhelm Izuku. "You liked it?" Inko asked, ignoring her heart hurting at the idea of him starving. Izuku simply nodded. It was wonderful. It was by far the best thing he had ever, in his entire life, eaten. "I will bring over more tomorrow, but can we talk some more?" Izuku nodded again to Inko's question. "Did you have a lot to eat before you were hurt?" "No. After, sir. I didn't really. First I did. I found stuff in trash, like apples and bread, I even caught a fish once. But some people were mean and stopped me from getting them." Toshinori had to stop himself from getting angry. They wanted this child to trust them, not to be in fear of them. "Tell me, Izuku. How did you survive for so long?" Toshinori had wondered this for a long time. "I don't know." Izuku was unsure. He got lucky from time to time, finding blankets from time to time, and some trash had food in it. Piece by piece Izuku found a way to survive. "I understand your worry, Mirai, I understand your worry, I do, but it's a child. There is no need to read his future to see if he ever betrays me, you really should stop that. Last year it was the new mailman, and now this," Toshinori said as he hung up the phone. He understood the worry. He was his sidekick and a massive fan. He wanted the best for All Might, almost even interrogating Inko when they first met. But he was too much of a worry. It had been a week so far. Each day, both Toshinori and Inko visited Izuku. Inko made something for him each day, mostly it had been soups. But now, for the first time, Inko had been given the go-ahead to make it something solid. She could not go extreme, but for the first time, Inko was able to make him a full meal. A large bowl of soup. Some steamed vegetables, boiled potatoes, and some turkey. It was a large meal, but Izuku had shown to have an amazing appetite. Inko walked in. "Hello Inko, Toshinori." Izuku said, greeting both of them. It had been the second time this had happened. He was still getting used to them. But he no longer recoiled when they entered. "Only if they reached for him. I made you a big meal, so I hope you're hungry," Inko said, placing her bag down on the floor. Each time she placed something on the table she noticed Izuku's eyes widen, nearly drooling. "Hope you enjoy," Inko said as Izuku ate. He had forgotten how to use a fork or a spoon. But with how it was now, they first had to get him healthier. Inko and Toshi just calmly sat as they watched Izuku swallow as much as he could, eating without leaving crumbs. Only a minute after he was finished eating they started talking again. "Izuku, do you know your quirk?" Izuku shook his head. "I think I know what it does. Sir always hated it. He said I was his golden ticket. But I was weak, just stronger than the normal person." Toshinori tapped his chin, more often than not. It was a misdiagnosis from the doctor. They just saw the increased actions and cut corners. But that could be explored later. "You want to know a bit more about us? Then we can be friends, right?" Izuku nodded. That was what he knew about friends, they knew stuff about each other. "What do you like to eat?" Izuku asked. "Oh well, I enjoy fruit. Doesn't matter which, banana, strawberries, apples," Inko said happily as Izuku nodded. He knew what they were. "Well, I enjoy me some good old American barbecue," Toshinori said with a large grin. "What's that?" Oh. Toshi had a realization. Of course, this kid would not know what that was. Sweetie. Toshi was blanking. American barbecue is when they take big parts of meats, they cook it in a unique way over fire, they use all kinds of different flavors and make it super tasty. Inko said, simplifying it slightly, but Izuku smiled at the idea. "Not right now, Nezu. I am just about to do something important," Toshi said on the phone. "Yes, the kid, now please, excuse me," Toshi said, hurrying up and hanging the phone up. Inko was already waiting inside. "Hey, kiddo." Izuku waved. He had been doing a lot better. From the old skin and bones, he used to be. He had color back in his system. He was looking healthier. Far healthier than they assumed he should be, but they all assumed this was his quirk at work. "Ready to play?" Inko said toward Toshi. "Don't be afraid to ask questions, Izuku, learning can be fun." Izuku nodded as he saw all the things in front. "You start." Izuku nodded but didn't move. "The dice, you grab it and roll, then you move the spaces." "Oh, okay." Izuku grabbed the die and rolled it. And moved the spaces. He quickly smiled as he started to understand the game. They did 4 total games and Izuku got lucky and won twice. Inko won twice as well, with Toshi not finished the entire 4 times. "That's it. Well done," Inko said as she taught Izuku some basic skills. He held a spoon in his hand. "Now slowly move it to your mouth, and try your best not to spill anything." They had not yet used food to train, as this was water. And just with a little spill, he did it. "Well done, Izuku, you're getting better at it," Inko said, pride in her tone, glad to see Izuku improve so well. Most of the skills they were learning him, were skills he already had, skills he just had to get back, but after so many years of not using anything. It was expected for that to be like that, but they also noticed that Izuku was an extremely quick learner. And he actively wanted to learn. But that was just with them. He had still an extreme fear of new people. This was visible when Inko and Toshi invited Recovery Girl with them. The older women had insisted on just seeing. But as soon as she entered the room, the slowly warming Izuku had frozen shut again. He was even more scared than he was before. It hurt them, but it was now that they knew. They had to learn more about his past, no matter how much it hurt them to hear the story, they had to learn about it. The large man threw Izuku down the porch. The 8-year-old Izuku landed on the stone floor below, landing HRD on his already broken arm, making it look even worse, as 2 spots were bent. Izuku screamed in pain as he lay there. "Shut your mouth and go die in the forest like a dog." The large monstrous man yelled as he took a swig from the bottle in his hand. The green beer bottle got emptied soon enough, before the large man then threw his bottle at Izuku, missing him slightly as the bottle hit the hard stone floor and exploded. Shards of broken glass landed on Izuku, giving him slight cuts as he laid there in pain, his wails being heard yet ignored. The large man went inside again, loud music instantly being turned on. As the sun slowly started disappearing, Izuku stayed on the floor. He dragged himself, with one arm, through the glass shards, cutting his hands, but he made it to the door. Knocking on the door. "PL, please let me back in, I will behave," Izuku said before the door was pulled open again. "I told you to F off." The large man kicked Izuku down the stairs again. Before with a beer can, now, throwing it at Izuku again. As Izuku screamed in fear as he made his way to the nearby forest. "I don't think I can, sir," Izuku said on the floor. "Come on, kiddo, you make your hand dance, and I give you my burger, don't you want it?" The teen showed his chamber. Half-eaten. Izuku showed his arm, instead of just bending at the elbow. It was also bent in the middle of the forearm and at the wrist. Izuku wiggled his hand slightly, as the group of teenagers laughed and pointed at it. "Here you go, freak," the teen said before throwing the burger in the dirt, but Izuku didn't care. He jumped right at it, eating it quickly, dirt and all. All while thanking the teens who were laughing as they walked away. Both Inko and Toshi had heard his story. It took multiple weeks. Over a total of 3 months. Inko and Toshinori had heard Izuku's story, each and every bad and horrible moment, they sat through and endured. Just like Izuku had to endure. Both were filled with rage at the end, a need to find and destroy this, sir, to find these people and crush them with all their might. To annihilate like none have been destroyed before. But as they sat through all the stories, as they heard all the pain and sorrows, both were sure about what they wanted. Both agreed. "Izuku, we have an important question to ask you," Inko said. Izuku got slightly worried. "Oh, okay." He was confused, but they had helped him so much, he would answer as well as he could. "With how good you have been doing." Inko said that his health was improving, and he physically was doing much, much better than they had ever expected. "With that, you will be released from the hospital soon enough. And we can't have your life out on the street," Inko said as Izuku's eyes went slightly wider. "Normally, you would go back in foster care, to hopefully find yourself a nice family, or until you're old enough to take care of yourself." I can take care of myself, I don't want to go back, please," Izuku said. His fear for the mean families and the likes of Sir, hurting him again was far larger, than the fear and pain of living on the street. "It's the foster care. Or, if you would like, you could live with both me and Toshi," Inko said with a soft smile. "Wah," Izuku said, unsure if his ears heard it correctly. "We could adopt you, then you can live with us and we take care of you," Inko said. "You can pick, but both myself and Inko would love for you to live with us," Toshinori said, placing a hand on Inko's shoulder, both nodding as they stood behind this decision fully. Meeting more people. Izuku nodded. He didn't know how to put it into words. Izuku liked Inko and Toshinori, both were kind and friendly. Really, you want to live with us? Izuku just nodded again. Inko and Toshi smiled happily. Inko at first wanted to hug him, but she understood that she couldn't. Izuku was still too scared of people to try that. She could only smile and place her hand on the bed. But Izuku still stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks. Each day again Inko and Toshi showed up. But now, he was allowed to go home. He sat on his bed, waiting. Inko nearly ran in with a massive smile. Sorry Izuku. We tried to park a little closer, but it was busy. Inko had run to his room. Inko had made a point to show up each day at the same time. She wanted it to be a norm for Izuku. She wanted Izuku to be able to count on her and Toshinori to show up. She wanted it to be a norm for him to see them, but each time they almost arrived late, Inko got worried. She cared for Izuku deeply, and she understood Izuku didn't have a familiar bond with anyone. She knew he could never rely on anyone. They all left him, thus she needed to be there on time. To make sure Izuku never felt forgotten about or as they left him. We got you some clothing Oswell. Izuku was dumbfounded. They got him new clothing. Why? He asked. He had clothing, sure that was ripped, but he could wear that. So you don't get sick. And because you need clothing silly. Inko said placing the bag down. I tried my best to keep it simple. We can buy more clothing that you like later when you feel more comfortable. Izuku could just look at her confused. And more? He asked softly, his hands softly shaking. Of course, you need more than what we bought. Inko said. Izuku looked in the bag. He grabbed one of the first things. A shirt that had writing on it. What does this say? Izuku asked. While he learned how to train, he had not read anything for so long, that he simply forgot. Shirt. I hoped it would help you with picking clothing. She had on purpose bought clothing that had writing on it. This way she hoped Izuku could learn to use more than just one set. Oh. Thank you ma'am. Izuku said as he started putting the clothing it. It was rather hard, but with the help of Inko, he was able to finally wear the clothing. A simple pair of jeans, while he wore a white shirt with the word shirt written on it. Let's head home then. Toshinori said as he stood up. He was about to grab the wheelchair, only for Izuku to fall out of his bed. Izuku. Inko nearly rushed him, thinking he was hurt. Only for him to crawl. I will try not to be slow. Izuku said only for Inko to kneel next to him. You don't have to crawl, we can use the wheelchairs. But they are from the hospital. Izuku said but Inko assured him it was fine. With Toshinori pushing him softly, the walk was silent. As they arrived at the car, Izuku could just look. Inko opened the door. Come let us help you. Inko said offering a hand. With some effort Izuku was able to get in the car, sitting in the back. Inko put his seatbelt on, before moving to the front. Would you like some music Izuku? I am fine with whatever you want ma'am, Izuku said again. The drive was slightly awkward. Izuku just started out the window in amazement. He wasn't sure how going this fast was even possible. It was rather scary for him at first. But as the car came to a stop, Izuku had seen something for the first time. He saw a clean street. There was no trash, no food, or people sleeping. It was just empty and clean. This is home. Toshinori said, pulling out the wheelchair. Helping Izuku in. Izuku had to take everything in. From the outside. The house was large. Izuku saw windows on 3 different levels. In front of the house, a path of the street, Izuku didn't know the word. It was smooth like a road. Concrete. The grass green and soft looking. A layer of colorful flowers. He didn't understand, where was the broken things? Why was this grass so green and not slightly brown? As they rolled up toward the door, Inko opened it. And once more Izuku's eyes went wide open in shock. He had expected the home he grew up in. Wood and carpet, but instead. The floor was white, with large square tiles placed next to each other. A small hallway, that always was filled with trash in his mind, was empty, with a set of coats hanging on the wall, a small wooden table on the other side, with a small bowl on top. A bunch of shoes at the door. Izuku was rolled in. As the door closed, he looked back. The door didn't have 4 locks. Everything was confusing. This had only been his second house that he remembered. "This is the living room," Inko said as they entered it. Just like before, nothing from what Izuku remembered. The room had a clean floor, and it looked nice enough to eat off. A small table with a vase and some flowers, a couch pressed against the wall. A small chair on the other side. An extra chair that had its back to Izuku. One that could rock back and forth. And a couch without a rest. Izuku had never seen something like that. A footstool with storage. Then on the other wall, a large TV, one that was so flat Izuku mistook it for a painting first. Right under a small drawer, with electronics. Izuku didn't understand, where were the ashtrays filled with cigarettes? Where were the empty beer bottles? The leftover food? The kitchen? Inko said once more, Izuku had never seen a kitchen like that. "Where is the lock?" Izuku asked. "Lock? On the food place." Izuku pointed at the fridge. "Oh, the refrigerator. We don't have a lock, why would we?" "Because kids are only allowed to eat at dinner, right?" "Oh, of course not, Izuku. If you are hungry, you can open it and eat something, or ask me and Toshi." Izuku just nodded. "And this is your room?" Izuku was confused. "Are you sure?" Izuku said, shocked. They had used one of the guest rooms and had altered it for him. "Of course, we still need to fill it with stuff, but that will happen over time, to fill it with hobbies and the likes," Toshinori said with a smile. Izuku just nodded as he looked. He was afraid to touch anything. Everything looked new and good. Was he even supposed to touch these things? But as Inko and Toshi encouraged him, he moved over to the bed. Sitting down on his own bed. "We will be right back, just relax in your room, okay?" Izuku just nodded. "Izuku, this is Chiyo Shuzenji. She is a hero and a doctor." "Oh, hello ma'am," Izuku said, keeping his head low. Chiyo was a small woman, standing around the same height as Izuku. A round face with a content smile, her gray hair tied neatly in a bun that was held together with a large needle. She used a walking cane and had a small scarf around her shoulders. "Hello sweetie, how are you feeling?" "I am fine ma'am, everything is perfect, I swear," Izuku said, worrisome. He remembered these. In his old home. There was sometimes a man or a woman who would drop by. They would ask how it was. And Izuku had to always say good, if not he would be punished. "Are you sure, kiddo? It's fine if something is wrong." "I swear everything is fine." "I am fine." Inko nearly crushed her cup in rage. Izuku was shivering in fear at the talk. "Okay. That's good, right? How do you like your bed?" "It's great, I swear." "Oh really, mine is terrible for my back, huh? Always causes me pain. Have you been in pain recently?" Chiyo asked. Her experience as recovery girl helped her here. She understood his fear. I have ma'am, but always my own fault," Izuku said quickly. "Do you know your own quirk, sonny?" It's useless ma'am," that was what Izuku was told every time his quirk was brought up by his old home. "Oh, I don't think any quirk is useless. Do you know what it does?" "It makes me slightly stronger." As Izuku said this, his eyes shifted to the side, before looking back. "Izuku, what did you just look at?" "At the window." What window? Izuku pointed at nothing. It has words on it. Oh, can you read what it says? Wrong, in 4 mate son. Wrong in 4 mate son, do you mean wrong information? Izuku wasn't sure, but as Inko wrote it on a paper, and Izuku was able to compare, he nodded. His quirk had a lot more than just making him stronger. Izuku sat at the dinner table, on the other side of Toshinori, both still eating, but Inko had finished. I am just gonna do laundry. When you're done, can you wash the plates? Inko had meant this for Toshinori. She would always cook and Toshi would clean up, but she didn't think Izuku would listen to it. Instantly, ignoring his own food. Izuku rolled toward the sink. Before trying to struggle up to the sink, with his one arm and one leg, he tried getting up. Only to be stopped. Izuku, what are you trying? I was told to do the plates. Sir always said, when something is asked, you do it right away, or else. She meant me, Izuku, and it's after dinner, you have to first finish your food right. Oh, okay sir, sorry sir. Izuku said, apologizing. Toshi shook his head. Sadly, there was no way to figure out who that sir was, because if there was, All Might would personally show up and beat him into a begging pulp, before throwing him into the deepest darkest hole on earth and throwing the key into space. Both he and Inko hated that bstrd. They had no idea who he was, but if they ever found out, they would bring holy hell down upon that monster. He would just work together with Inko in order to try and give Izuku the life he deserves. Inko bit her finger. She was worried. Izuku was extremely shy. She understood why, but with her talks of those close to her and Toshi, they all agreed that Izuku had to meet more people. It would not be enjoyable for him, he would feel uncomfortable, but it would be good for him in the long run. Thus now. Izuku was rolled into the room. Izuku, this is Nezu. He is the principal of a new hero school. Hello young man. Nezu smiled as he looked at Izuku. They were similar heights. The main difference was that Nezu did not look human. He looked like an animal. A large rat or hamster, white fur all over him, with cute paws. A long white tail, and a nice fancy suit without the coat, wearing the blazer as the coat, and sneakers as his shoes. He also had a large scar on his right eye, but still seemed friendly. Hello sir, Izuku said shyly. He was still not used to and comfortable with maintaining eye contact. More often than not it would result in him being hit, that had always been the case. Izuku was in slight fear of Nezu. He remembered his old school. They had been very mean. Always giving out hard punishments to all the kids. Izuku, this is David Shield, and his daughter, Melissa. Melissa is only slightly younger than you. It was rare to have David and Melissa over. David lived on Island, he was the head researcher, and while most were not really allowed on the island. David was an exception, mostly of the people he had contact with. David stood pretty tall, only a head smaller than Toshinori himself. He was your average build with light brown, slightly messy hair. A short goatee with square glasses. And a fancy digital watch. Melissa was a pale-skinned young woman, around the same height as Inko if not slightly taller, with a slightly round face with wavy blonde hair that reached halfway down her back. She had dressed casually with nice large boots, wearing the same glasses as her father. Oh, you are missing an arm, Melissa said shocked. Inko gasped slightly, they had forgotten to tell them that. Izuku just nodded, he looked down as he nodded. Oh, I can make you a new arm, one that shoots lasers and stuff. Melissa said overly excited as she thought about working on something like that. While lasers might be a little much, we could make you a new arm and a new leg. Oh David, really, it's not necessary. Of course, it is Toshi, come on. It will be fun, well Izuku? Inko asked. She loved the idea, it could perhaps bring Izuku closer to Melissa, he could finally get a friend his age. He could finally have someone, he could talk to. But the option would always be his entire life so far, he never had an option, people did things for him and decided for him, but no longer. Inko would make sure Izuku would get his choices. Whatever makes you all happy. Izuku said softly. Melissa cheered loudly, causing Izuku to recoil at the sudden jump of her. Don't worry, kiddo. I will make sure it works. David said with a smile. He was happy for Toshi and Inko. Both were unable to have kids themselves. But they got themselves one, and in his eyes. They both had not looked happier. Izuku was in thought. He looked to his right. The place his arm would have been. It had been years since he last used it. After Sir kicked him out and hurt him, his arm always hurt when he used it. And after those teens, it was cut off. He couldn't remember how it was using two arms, but now. He would once again get an arm. Sweets? An older gentleman asked. He stood again around Izuku's height. His hair combed back yet still a mess, wrinkles over his face, with a trimmed beard. He seemed old and tired, but still full of life. Oh, thank you. Izuku said, taking the candy from him. Izuku, this is my old teacher, Sorahiko Torino, or his hero named Gran Torino. Also a hero. Why do you know so many heroes? Izuku was aware of heroes, there were too many to count. But he never saw them, that was super rare, but now with Toshi and Inko they were everywhere. Oh, because we are heroes, Izuku looked confused. What? Izuku said, confused. Yeah. I am the hero Telegreen. And I am All Might. Izuku looked at them in awe and confusion. He had heard of them, but how could they be just normal people? Heroes were larger than life, super strong. It's a pleasure to meet you. Extremely tall gentleman said to Izuku. Only slightly smaller than All Might. The man was very lean, looking almost skinny as he wore a fancy suit, his hair a dark green with 3 yellow stripes in it, smoothed down. His glasses resting on his nose, and a stern look on his face. He seemed of power. His plain white suit with a white dress shirt seemed more fit for an office than, being a hero. Okay, sir, Izuku said again, scared. He had been terrified of each and every single person. But Inko and Toshinori had assured him, that none of them would do anything bad, they would only help him in the end, they were all friends. But to Izuku, friends meant nothing. It was a word he had heard before, but he never had any, he never knew an example of friendship. But as Sir Night-Eye walked away, Izuku let out a breath. Did he scare you? Inko asked softly. Izuku gave a soft nod. Okay, then how about he comes by very little until you are used to him? Don't worry, Izuku, he might look scary, but he really is very kind. Inko said with a smile as she placed her hand on his leg. It had been 2 months since Izuku had lived with them, and thankfully, Inko and Toshi could touch him, without him flinching. Izuku was confused. A new person was shown. It was a young woman, only around 10 years older than Izuku. But she looked like Toshinori's daughter. She stood nearly as tall as Sir Night-Eye, with long blonde hair, and a big build. This is Kathleen Bate, she is a hero in both America and Japan. She is aiming to be the #1 hero in America. Everything about her screamed larger than life, but right now. She sat far away from him, softly on the couch. It's nice to finally meet you, I have heard great things. She said kindly. A smile that radiated kindness, just like Inko's smile. Izuku nodded. It's nice to meet you too, ma'am. Ma'am. I am too young for that, just call me Kath, okay? Why yes I mean Kath. Izuku, would you like to learn? Inko asked Izuku. Izuku nodded. Inko smiled as she placed her books down. Let's first learn how to read, okay? Why yes. Izuku agreed, to whatever she thought was best. Izuku looked at the book. Learn to read, activity book. Now then, she opened the book for him, on the first page. Can you tell me what that is? Apple, Izuku said with Inko nodding. Yes, correct. Well done, Izuku. She praised him, before going toward the next word. Home. Are you sure? Toshinori asked Inko. Both were lying in bed. I think it might be best. He should start getting to know other people. He has had far too many bad experiences, for just us two to make right, and I think when David and Nezu and such came by, it helped him. Well, Kathleen will stay here a bit, so we can ask her if she wants to use the guest room, just so we can have an extra constant in his life. Toshi added. He placed his hand on top of hers. It will all work out. The next day Toshinori called Kathleen over right away. Izuku had still been in his room. Which he did most days. They believed he had just slept in, something he had all rights doing. Oh yeah, I won't mind that at all, might even get Izuku to talk to me a little. Kathleen said as Toshinori smiled. Let's see, shall we? Toshinori walked toward his room. It was 9, and Izuku normally stayed until 11, but as he stood at the door, and knocked softly, the door already softly swinging open. They had left all doors open, so Izuku would not feel trapped. He could then open any door at all times. They saw him, sitting on the floor, with one of the books Inko had got for him. Izuku? Toshinori asked softly. Yet he still startled Izuku. The boy looked up, worried. Oh, sorry sir, I did not hear you. Do I need to do something? Izuku said, using his one leg and his arm to prop himself up on his bed and place himself in his wheelchair. Not at all, kiddo. I just wanted to ask you something. Toshinori stepped into the room. Thankfully, with the fact, Izuku had been with them for a bit. Izuku had started calming down slightly. No longer in fear of Toshinori or Inko striking him whenever his room was a slight mess. Even now. Sir would have instantly used the belt, or worse on him. He had at least 2 books out on his bed, and his covers were a mess, which was unacceptable before. Toshi crouched a couple of feet in front of the chair. You remember Kathleen, right? Why yes, hello ma'am, I mean Kath, sorry. It's fine Izuku, hey. Kathleen said with a very soft and kind smile. I was wondering, how would you like it if Kathleen stayed with us for a couple of months? Izuku didn't understand these questions. It was something new for him. Why ask me, sir? Because we care. You're still getting used to everything, and maybe you're a little scared of Kathleen. We want you to be happy and safe here, not feel scared. Oh, I am not scared of Kathleen sir, as she seems nice. Everyone Izuku had met seemed nice. He was still deadly afraid of them, but if sir wanted it, Izuku could not say no. He was already feeling really useless. He didn't want to become more of a bother. That's nice to hear, Kathleen said as Toshi nodded. By the way Izuku, why are you reading here? Out in the living room you are able to ask for help. But sir always said kids were not allowed out their rooms until, what? Kathleen said, a slight frown on her face, one Izuku didn't see as his face was aimed at his lap. This was the first time she heard of these stories in person. Izuku, you are allowed out of your room at any point and at any time. If you want to stay in bed till 12, that's fine. If you want to be in the living room at 5 in the morning, that's also fine. Oh, really? Izuku asked and Toshi nodded. He placed his large hand on Izuku's lap. This is also your home, remember? Small tears slowly escaped his eyes. Oh okay, he was at a loss for words. Izuku had never seen anywhere as his home before, but this would truly be his home. Later in the day, Izuku was at the living room table. Still learning, thankfully he was a fast learner. The blue fox tiptoed over the cobblestone road, past all the trees, and out of the forest, right into a big city. Good job kiddo, you are almost reading as well as I can. Kathleen said with a smile. He was choppy and slow, but he had only been reading for a week again, and he was getting the hang of it faster and faster. Thank you. Hey, it's a nice day, wanna go for a stroll with me? Kathleen asked. Toshinori had gone to work, his role as the #1 hero had to go on. But Kathleen was free and slightly bored. Oh okay, Izuku said. While he was slightly scared of everyone, Kathleen was nice. Just as nice as Inko and Toshinori. Oh please be safe, don't go too far, take a coat, I don't want you to get sick, also maybe an umbrella, it might rain, and pepper spray, just in case. Inko relax. I am just taking him for a walk across the neighborhood, not a climbing expedition over Mount Fiji. Kathleen said as Inko got worried. Izuku sat with a small smile, as Inko helped him into a coat, zipping him shut. He was clicked in with a seatbelt, making so he didn't slip off or fall. But soon Izuku started getting warm. Want me to zip you down? Why yes please, Izuku said as Kathleen stopped and crouched in front of him, rolling the coat down. There we go, Izuku thanked her with a nod as they moved again. He just silently sat there, softly being pushed around. Only just as Inko predicted it started raining, and they were as far as they could be. Damn, we are gonna be just wet when we get back. Wanna speed it up slightly? Oh, if you want sure. No kiddo, it's what you want, oh. Okay, Kathleen smiled as she made sure. Izuku was secure. Just say stop when I am going too fast kiddo. Kathleen ran, as fast as she could while pushing the wheelchair. The calm ride turned into a sprint. Izuku felt the wind push in his face, the drips land over him, he felt his heart speed up, and he felt excitement, right into when they stopped. Right outside the house. Hee, now that was fast right. Extremely fast, why you are really fast, like a car. Kathleen blushed slightly with a big smile. Just like a car kid, you're getting just as fast when you get older, maybe even faster right? I could never, not with my quirk. Okay Izuku, I am just gonna take some BLD okay? The needle will sting a bit, but only for a bit okay? Chio said. Izuku nodded at the older hero. As Recovery Girl drew the small vial of BLD, she gave Izuku a kiss on the arm which closed the wound. Wow, your quirk is really cool. Izuku said. Before living on the street Izuku had no hobbies, he just had to survive, but now having a roof over his head, a blanket, and food every day. Izuku was able to explore the idea of hobbies and so far he had one. Quirks. It came to be because of the tall gentleman, Sir Nightai, Mirai Sasaki. Do you know your quirk? It was a simple question that Izuku started to release was not a simple answer. No, before it was always yes, it was weak, but now. He was not smart enough to read and understand the words and things that his quirk showed. Do you want my help figuring it out? Izuku nodded. And that was where it started. Sir started telling about himself, hoping to gain some common ground with Izuku, and to seem less imposing. My quirk is called foresight, if I touch someone and look into their eyes. I can see someone's actions for around an hour. Wow. Izuku said shocked, that sounded so strong. You must be one of the strongest heroes there is then. While I lack power, like other heroes, I apply my expertise in other fields. Sir said as he adjusted his glasses, then again. Izuku understood barely anything from that but with Sir Nightai. Izuku was able to figure stuff out about quirks. Like Toshinori, his quirk superpower, allowed him to power himself up, he would get even more muscled than he already was, and even his hair would puff up into a V on his head. Or Inko who could move stuff with her mind. There was an endless supply of unique interesting methods of power, but now Recovery Girl was doing some tests. To see extra information on his quirk, hopefully, to get a better grip of everything. It showed up again. Izuku said. Oh okay, what does it say? Inko asked. Izuku looked at the pop-up screen. It had a light blue color, yet still fully transparent. Daily, QUST, I don't know that word, that quest sweetie, daily quest. Oh, daily quest, training. Then it has 5 boxes on top of each other with words next to them. What do they say? Do 5 push-ups, do 5 sit-ups, do 5 squats, complete a 1-mile run, complete a 30-second plank. Izuku read, slowly, but now everyone got a feel for it. Does it say anything else? Toshinori asked, with Izuku nodding. Reward for completion. Inko asked before writing it down. Izuku nodded, that was the word. Reward for completion of the daily quest, 10 EXP, 5 SP, and 250 gold. What the, well, do you want to try? Izuku nodded. Toshinori grabbed Izuku by the side, hating the fact he could still feel his ribs far too easily. But Toshinori helped Izuku through the mechanics of the exercises. Izuku noted that with each one done, the boxes got ticked off. The hardest by far was the 1-mile walk, but 5 breaks and a slow pace. Izuku completed all of them. As they sat on the bed again, Recovery Girl just done with her down test. Izuku clicked the box. His eyes opened as he now saw a lot more. A lot more words just showed up. Oh, okay. Can you read them? I will try, ma'am. Welcome to the system. Con something for completing your first quest, congratulations most likely. Inko said with Izuku nodding. He clicked the OK. Oh, I see myself. Like a mirror? Toshinori asked. No sir, it's like I am standing, like you are, but me. Izuku said. Toshi stood normally, both feet on the floor with his hands at his side. I see. Then it has words under it, stats, stats, like a video game. Izuku didn't know, but as Toshinori showed him stat bars on video games he nodded. Yes, like that. Oh wow, that can be very strong, your quirk is really something, Izuku. Toshinori said. Izuku smiled, he wasn't useless, I won't hurt you, just need to make the one arm like the other, right, David said. Izuku sat shirtless. His eyes were shut closed, expecting pain in some shape, but nothing. David had only used a measuring tape to make the correct measurements. His finger length, forearm length, upper arm length, bicep width, palm width, everything he would need, and he all wrote it down. Now that was that. He had already done his leg, that was a lot easier, he would only need a mold of the stump, but that would be later. Now Izuku, is there anything special you want in your arm? I don't know sir. Izuku said. Perhaps a light, OH or lasers, rocket boosters, GPS location, heart rate detector. Melissa said, exiting the kitchen as she ran around. David smiled. Sir, what was that GPS tracker? Izuku said. David smiled, oh, that, GPS stands for Global Positioning System. It just allows you to know where something or someone is at all times, like here. David pulled out his phone. He opened the map. You see, I have a GPS on Melissa. She likes to run away, but this way I can always find her. Izuku looked at it in amazement. That sounded like magic to him, a way to never lose someone ever again. Can I GPS sir and ma'am? Both Toshinori and Inko felt their hearts squeeze. That was by far the sweetest thing both had ever heard. That is very possible, I will make a small screen right here. David tapped his pan on the drawing of his palm, the inside of his forearm. It would be a small screen, with 2 buttons. One green one, for Inko, and a yellow one for Toshinori. You click it once, and you get a live feed of where they are, click twice and you will get directions towards them. Thank you, sir, Izuku said with his head down, but very grateful, this way he could always find Inko and Toshinori. Now then, I should start making it, I will come by soon to bring it, David said as he stood up. In reality, it was not a hard build, he had made things far harder, but it would be interesting, hopefully, a small operation could take place. David would link up some nerve endings with his socket, which would allow for the arm to act like an arm would. Izuku could mentally control it, that at least was the aim he had with it. Learning to move your limbs. David sat in his workshop. David was working on the arm and a leg for Izuku. Just simply tighten the bolt here, and tada. David looked down. The leg was simple. It wouldn't require any surgery to work, it was very simple. The only thing that was required was that it could bend around the knee and foot. Nothing was something that David had problems with. Melissa even helped with it. Something she loved helping her father, she wanted to be friends with Izuku, but he wasn't really that friendly. Something Melissa still had to fully understand. Melissa just knew that Izuku had gone through very hard times, she was spared with all the painful stories Inko and Toshinori had heard. Small glimpses were shared with the others, and they were shocked at how this young boy was able to survive. "Melissa, could you get me the arm? I will finish it now." Melissa laughed as she came running in. "Look Papa, I got the light to work." Melissa placed the arm down. It was so far a skeleton of an arm. In the middle, there was a metal rod, some wires around the arm, and most importantly, a simple skeleton form. And just like Melissa said, his pointer finger was fully done. A small light on the point finger, a set of wires down to the middle, it looked like a correct finger. "Well done, Angel. I will finish the rest." David looked over the wires. While they were slightly sloppy, it was all correctly wired and safe. David looked into his desk, opening the drawers. "I need a battery, for both the GPS and the light. Oh well, let's add 2 ways to charge. Through cable, and solar, why not?" David said as he pulled some stuff out. Most of his gadgets were around heroics, which means he already had a GPS somewhere, as well as solar power and cable. Stuffing it in the arm. The entire top side of the forearm was a solar charger. It was simple but it did look cool. Then around the elbow. David added the charger cable. Now then to fit the rest. This one took a lot of work. The arm could do a lot. David had to allow Izuku to use each finger, folding, and stretching, rotation of the wrist, as well as the forearm, bending of the wrist, and elbow. Plus full movement of the shoulder. This was rather difficult. But not the hardest. The finger mobility was by far the hardest aspect. Allowing a machine to pick up the thing's papers, or a pen. David worked on it for an entire week. He also had to work on the shoulder part. The part that the arm had to lock into. "Here look Izuku," David said with a smile. He placed the arm and leg down on the table in front of him. Izuku could only blink. His brain was processing the information. Was his arm always like that? Izuku couldn't remember how his old arm looked before the breaks. Was it always the same as his other arm? The arm would require surgery. That way, I can link it up with nerves. That way you can move the fingers properly. I called an expert from Switzerland. He helped me. David said he needed help to allow it to correctly perfect it. Izuku's entire mind was frozen. "Thank you, David, thank you, my friend." Toshinori stood up and he hugged David. "No worries." David smiled as Inko hugged him as well. Izuku was still shocked. This was for him. Someone had gotten him something. "Thank you, sir, thank you very much," Izuku said with his head low. David just smiled. "Happy you like it. Now shall we try your new leg?" Izuku nodded. David stepped back as he allowed Inko to do it. He understood Izuku was far too fearful to be touched by him. "Okay Izuku, my hands might be slightly cold." Izuku nodded as he closed his eyes tightly. While he understood that the only reason he was alive was because of them, his fear of punishment was still far too real. As Inko rolled Izuku's breaths up, she grabbed the leg and put it in place. Izuku gasped slightly in shock. It was a tight fit. Izuku remembered the fitting. It had been weird. But as Inko let his foot drop softly, Izuku's eyes went open. He felt his leg tap down. "Oh. Wow." Izuku said shocked. Inko offered Izuku a hand. "Wanna stand up?" Izuku nodded. Taking his hand in hers. He pushed himself up. He stood slightly out of breath, but he stood. His face had turned into a slight smile. He stood tall on his own feet. You like it? Izuku nodded. In his shaky legs, still clutching onto the hand of Inko, he brought his leg up. Taking the first step he had taken in months. Years even. But as his foot landed, the bottom was too slippery, it slipped out from under him, and he felt. He landed hard on the tile floor, unable to catch himself. As he landed, Izuku didn't make a sound, only the wind that was pushed out from him. Inko, Toshinori, Kathleen, and David all rushed over. Quickly helping him up, checking him up. Seems I forgot to add anti-slip, sorry kiddo. No sir, it was my fault, I just need to walk better, I am sorry. Izuku sounded scared. Izuku, you did nothing wrong. It was my fault, I will fix it. David smiled. It was normal for Izuku to take the blame. At his old home, when something went wrong, he had to take the blame. And he still had that mentality with Inko and Toshinori. As Inko had placed some hot soup, Izuku instantly drank it. The pain was barely noticeable for him. However, when Inko took a sip, she burned her tongue. With a gasp, Izuku instantly started to apologize. He should have warned her. But they were slowly working on getting that out of him. David moved over to his truck. He had some extra supplies. In case something was wrong. Adding the extra anti-slip. It was simple and quick, right away Izuku got his foot back. Right off the bat, Izuku tried walking again, now Toshinori and Inko were right at his side. Each step was slow and calculated. David made sure everything worked fine. Izuku took a week to learn to walk once more. Inko was by his side the entire time. But after that first week, Izuku could walk on his own. It was amazing for him. He forgot how it was to be that tall. He could see everything from above. Now he walked toward a chair. A small smile and was slightly winded as he sat down. Impressive. Chio said, placing a small piece of wrapped candy on the table and sliding it over to Izuku. Thank you, ma'am. Izuku said. Each time Recovery Girl and Gran Torino showed up, they always gave him candy. Now kiddo. I will personally do the surgery. I have caught up on all the necessary requirements, Oswell. I got the chief of surgery to assist me on the operation itself. Izuku was surprised, why were so many people helping? Now because of the nature of the surgery. It would take a while for the pain to stop. Izuku nodded. I don't mind that, ma'am. Izuku said. Izuku had been used to pain. It had been a feeling he had felt every day. In that container. His arm hurt every day, each breeze that moved his arm slightly hurt, it throbbed in pain. Izuku had lived in the pain so long, it had started to become dull. While Izuku had not gotten in pain in a while. He had a far higher pain tolerance. The hot soup that burned most only felt warm to Izuku. The fall on the floor that would have caused others to perhaps cry, made Izuku barely make a sound. The pain had simply become something Izuku was used to. Well then, we can schedule the surgery as soon as you would like. Whenever possible, ma'am, I don't want to cause problems for anyone. Izuku said. Chio smiled, a smile that only hid anger. She knew why Izuku had those feelings. His life so far had made him feel less than worthy of anything. He was not worth the time. You're not causing problems, kiddo. But how about we do it next week? Izuku nodded. As the weeks build up, Izuku had started walking more. He liked the feeling of walking. And now, each night, at 9 at night, Izuku went outside with Kathleen, Inko, and Toshinori. All four went outside. Izuku felt safest at night. Fewer people were out, none would look and stare at him. Toshinori always carried a wheelchair. just in case Izuku needed it. He was unable to walk that far yet. But each day Izuku tried to walk further. Each time Izuku tried to become useful. Izuku woke up in the hospital bed, one side of his body felt a lot heavier. His eyes felt groggy. He looked to his side. His normal pale skin turned into an ironish gray. The surgery had been done. "Good morning," Kathleen said softly from his side. With a smile on her face, she placed down her book. "How are you feeling, champ?" "Dizzy," Izuku said. The effects of the painkiller and morphine are still in his system. His entire body felt strange and weird. "Don't worry about it, just relax a little, maybe get back to sleep. I will stay here, looking over you." Thank you, Kathleen," Izuku said as he sunk back into sleep. It was now the next day. Izuku sat at the table. An empty water bottle stood in front him. His arm moved. It was the metal arm. The full creation of David's shield. It moved slowly. Izuku struggled. But with effort, the arm grabbed the water bottle. It however squeezed it tightly, blowing the cap of it and crumbling it up, but for the 7 tries Izuku had already done. It had been the first time for Izuku to grab the bottle. Inko jumped up excitedly, cheering happily as Izuku completed the task. "Well done, kiddo," Kathleen said, placing her hand on his head. Something that had been happening recently. With his arm and leg now fixed, Izuku felt more whole, he felt better. Inko, Toshinori, and Kathleen were now able to touch Izuku. Lay a hand on his leg, or softly pat him on the head, or what Kathleen was doing now, messing up Izuku's messy long white hair. "Wanna try a high five?" Toshinori asked with a large smile. "What is a high five?" Izuku asked. Something that Izuku had been doing a lot more. He wanted to understand more and more. "Oh, a high five is a way of celebrating, look." Toshi offered his arm up, and Kathleen tapped her own hand against it. "Just stretch out your hand." Izuku nodded. His tongue sticking out as he bit down on it slightly. Fully focusing his effort on opening his hand fully. Before then pushing his fingers together. "Like this." "Yeah, now raise your arm." Izuku nodded. His tongue was still out. As his arm rose. Just when it was high enough. Izuku looked with amazement when Toshinori tapped it softly. "Awesome job." Izuku smiled happily. He moved his arm over to Inko, who with a happy smile gave Izuku a high five as well. Just as Kathleen. Izuku was overjoyed. He was able to do stuff now. Over the couple weeks Izuku started to work on his limbs. Using the treadmill, Inko and Toshi had. Walking softly, trying to hit the mile mark every day at least. Something that was a lot harder than Izuku first assumed. And with his arm, he was still trying to learn basic motor skills. Such as picking up pencils, holding a cup, grabbing paper, and holding utensils. Moving food from one place to the other. By the end of the 2nd week, Izuku was able to move a spoon from the plate to his mouth. While the spoon started with food on it, it fell off the spoon on the journey. Something Izuku wasn't a fan of, but the same day, Izuku was able to at least have 1 spoonful of food. Something that was celebrated happily. A new hobby. Izuku sat up in bed. A deep breath in from the nose and out the mouth. Moving out of bed, he grabbed his leg from the side, plugging it in. Removing the charger from his arm. Moving the fingers back and forth. It had been nearly 2 months since Izuku had his arm. And nearly 10 months that he had met Toshinori and Inko. Putting the leg on. Izuku got out of bed. Looking at the night still around his windows. It was 5 in the morning, everyone was of course still asleep, but not Izuku. He walked over toward his desk. A smile on his face as he saw all the things he was given. Pulling open one of his drawers. He pulled out a book. Turning the small desk light on, Izuku started reading the book. While everyone praised Izuku's accomplishments, Izuku felt that he still had to be better. He needed to somehow improve everything. Thus he studied as much as he could. Each morning reading for nearly 3 hours. Increasing in more difficult books as he progressed. A dictionary lay next to him. He used it more than anything else. A drive to understand more. Each time a word caused him to stumble, Izuku looked it up. The meaning and how to pronounce it. While normally Izuku could easily multiple chapters, today Izuku was nervous. They would go for a walk today. A mile walk. Outside in the sun. It was something Izuku was nervous about. He did not want to be bullied, he did not want to see those that hurt him before. But all 3 of those he lived one assured him, nothing would happen. They would all be there and protect him if he needed it. It made him feel safer. Around 8 Izuku heard a soft knock. The sound first made him flinch, it always did. Yes. Hey, good morning, I am starting breakfast, any request? Izuku shook his head. Inko's cooking was always good. Inko merely nodded as she went to the kitchen. Izuku took a deep breath. He didn't understand why he was still scared. Back when he lived on the street, Izuku heard all sorts of loud sounds. Guns being fired, cars speeding by. People screaming. Even those who bullied him. All those loud sounds did nothing against Izuku. Barely reacting to those loud sounds, yet the soft knock. The sudden whisper. Those were the sounds Izuku somehow feared. Izuku didn't like it. Izuku didn't like that each time Inko raised her arms, his body actively flinched. He knew she was not going to hurt him. So why? Why did his body do things without him wanting it? Don't worry, Izuku. Inko said softly, offering her hand to make Izuku feel safer, but he shook his head. I need to be able to do things myself. I don't want to remain a burden forever. You are a blessing, Izuku, not a burden. Indeed, remember, even the strongest of people sometimes need help. It's okay to ask. Toshinori added to Inko's words. But they still respected Izuku's decision. However, Izuku quickly realized how terrifying the outside world was. Izuku tried to not focus on it, but he couldn't. Each person seemed to stare at him, their eyes burning his skin as their focus remained on purely him. With each step he took, there were more eyes on him. But he pushed forward. His eyes are down at the ground. Trying his best to focus on each step, Kathleen in front of him, deciding the path they would take. We are about half a mile away, so let's head back. Want to take a breather first, Izuku? Izuku nodded. While he could walk the mile alone at home on the treadmill, with the eyes on him, the added weight caused him to struggle. Izuku looks up. Inko said. Izuku did, instantly the weight he felt was gone. He blinked. His mind was unsure. Nobody was there. The millions of eyes he felt upon him were nowhere to be seen, it had been all in his mind. Where are those that were staring? Nobody has looked. See. Inko pointed. A woman with a small dog walked around the corner. Her face was on her phone as her dog peed on the pole. Not even noticing Izuku's or the group's existence. You are not some freak as they all made you out to be. You are a perfectly normal boy. Nobody will stare, nobody will say anything. Dance, freak, dance. A group of young adults screamed at Izuku as they threw firecrackers at Izuku's feet. The loud bangs scared the 9-year-old Izuku. He screamed for them to stop, begging for them to stop, yet they continued to berate, insult, and laugh at Izuku as they drank and threw fireworks. Come on, monster arm, grab the cookie. A large green man said as he held Izuku by his one good arm. Holding out a cookie with his other arm. forcing Izuku to grab the cookie with his broken arm. The man slammed his third arm into Izuku's stomach. The third arm growing on his spine slammed into the 11-year-old child, blowing the wind out his lungs and nearly causing Izuku to puke. "Bld, I said grab it." Izuku, with tears in his eyes, moved his hand to grab the cookie. The pain pulsated through his entire body. But as he grabbed it, the man threw Izuku down. "You're a freak, and you will always be one." Izuku struggled to hold back his tears as he nodded at Inko's words. A soft hand of Toshinori grazed his back. A symbol of support, one Izuku was grateful for. "I am ready to go home," Izuku said, as he struggled to get up again, using his metal arm and real arm to push himself off the bench. Nezu sat down with Izuku. Izuku pushed a paper to his side. This had become a weekly thing. Both Inko and Toshi wanted Izuku to have a couple of relationships. People he could possibly turn to in every moment and situation. Nezu was one of those people they had chosen. Nezu was supposed to be a guide for Izuku in all things academic. His quirk high specs allow Nezu to do simple things much faster, learn much faster, and ultimately know more. Thus any questions Izuku had about what words meant or how to solve math problems, whenever Inko or Toshinori were not able to help, Nezu would come to the rescue. "You were close with this one, Izuku. However, you see what you did here, you had it slightly turned around." "See?" Nezu explains, fixing the small problem in math without much effort and explaining what Izuku should have done in a way where he feels supported and understood. "Okay, so." Izuku opened his notes, grabbing one of the other problems that he had, solving it as he believed how to. "Exactly like that, very well done." Nezu praised Izuku, while Nezu liked helping Izuku. One thing Nezu took great pleasure in, was the fact that Izuku was incredibly smart. His education was severely lacking, barely that of a 6-year-old in some aspects and even worse in others. Yet here, now, Izuku was able to catch up at impeccable speed. Already learning at nearly a 10-year-old level, that was around 4 to 6 years of progress in maybe 6 months. Everyone believed it was not only a mix of Izuku's quirk but also his intellect. Izuku did almost everything at an accelerated speed. He learned faster, he healed faster. It fascinated Nezu and Sir Nightai. Both knew Izuku's quirk acted like a game system as of now. Izuku has gotten quests, most of the time it was his one daily quest, but from time to time, Izuku had a random quest pop up. Izuku tried his best to complete the quest to the best of his abilities. However, some Izuku flat out refused. He had gotten a quest to be out in public sometimes, one that he was always refusing, no matter the reward. Izuku's fear would not allow him to partake in such actions as of yet. He however also sometimes got quests to spend time with people, those he liked, even when they brought him to awkward moments. Like right now. His quest to spend time with Toshinori at the gym. Izuku knew the word, but he had never seen one. But Toshinori explained it. A busy location, where people come to work out and mind their own business. A place where it does not matter who you are, as everyone focuses on themselves and they try and treat everyone with respect. Izuku was in fear the first time. There were dozens of people. Yet as he looked around, none of them looked at him. At the most, they gave a wave to Toshinori or Kathleen. Izuku did not work out. But he did look around and asked about everything. "Why are all these people here?" he asked, confused why everyone would be doing this. "They all are trying to better themselves. Just like how you are trying. They too are trying to perhaps get healthier, or look better." "Oh." Izuku looked around. "Some train to protect themselves, see." Toshinori pointed at the corner of the gym. It was a matted area, multiple poles with sticks stood against the wall, large bags hung from chains. Protect themselves. Izuku had no idea how they did that. You see, most fights are simple. If you fight someone that is stronger, you can lose. This Izuku knew. He had tried fighting back before. But he never won, they were always stronger than him. But with the right training, you can win against those. You win by using something called martial arts. Izuku was amazed. Can just anyone learn it? Toshinori nodded. Indeed, everyone has the right and ability to learn martial arts. Not many do, as it takes dedication and effort. Sir, I want to go that. You want to learn martial arts? Toshinori asked. While he was not against it, it was not a question he had expected. And get stronger. I don't like being weak. Izuku spoke calmly. It made sense to him. The gym got people stronger. Martial arts got people safer. He wanted to feel safe, he wanted to never feel like he used to feel. He never wanted to be scared again. To be against someone that could do whatever they wanted to you because you were simply too weak to fight back. All right then, my boy. Let's get you nice and in shape then. Izuku smiled happily, grateful to Toshinori and Kathleen for helping him once more. Training started slow. Toshinori started him off at home. A safe haven, a place where Izuku could work on the basics without the eyes of anyone new to him. Izuku knew the end goal. To at least complete a full workout, completely at the gym. But that was for later, far later. With the guidance of Inko, Kathleen, and Toshinori, Izuku started learning how to properly do each exercise. This added to his daily quest. Allowed Izuku growth. Growth he himself had not expected. But as Izuku got comfortable with his workout, Kathleen took him to the gym. His first workout in a public setting. He had hidden himself slightly, wearing a large hoodie, as well as long sweatpants. His metal arm and leg are completely hidden from sight, allowing him to look normal. With Kathleen by his side, Izuku was able to complete his full day. He started it with his mile walk. Kathleen on his side. The only slightly older woman laughing and joking with him. In those moments of need, as Izuku felt eyes on himself, Kathleen brought the attention to herself. An act Izuku was grateful for. After his mile walk, Izuku went to his first machine. The bicep curl. His metal arm moved with ease and grace, remaining in perfect form, yet his real arm struggled and fought to complete the set. Yet, Izuku did not give up. Sitting through and completing every single workout that was planned. Without getting dressed in new clothing, Izuku nearly fled. The person at the front desk merely saying bye and giving a thumbs up, caused Izuku to shiver. This caused Izuku to dip his head low and walk slightly faster. Nearly rushing toward the car and hiding in the seat. Yet he did it. He set out and completed his goal. One that turned into a quest, and one that rewarded him with his first ever level up. What is your name? A level up, huh? Sir Knight, I said, tapping his chin. Izuku told Kathleen on the ride home. Inko and Toshinori were told right after. Both to get help, requested Sir Nightai and Nezu to visit. Both came quickly. What do you see? Please run through it once more. Nezu asked. Yes, sir. Izuku looked at the screen in front of him. It's a block. I see myself, standing normally. Below me, I see a small bar, with the text, remaining points. 4 points, below that, I see multiple words, health, 100% ability point, 50 strength, 5 dexterity, 6 constitution, 20 intelligence, 16 wisdom, 7 charisma, 5, that is interesting. Nezu said, writing it down. I also have an, Those things are on the computer. To have multiple screens open. Oh, you have a tab, please tap that. Sir Nightai asked. Izuku nodded as he moved his hand. Okay, I moved to the side, the edge. But now I am in underwear. Next to me. There are a lot of empty boxes. And something at the top. Inventory. I see you have a storage system Oswell, that is wonderful news. Izuku, please try and place this pen there. Nezu gave him his pen. A simple metallic pen, one that looked fancy. Izuku nodded as he grabbed it. Moving the pen to one of the slots, took one space. Everyone just saw Izuku move it, before in a bluish mist, it vanished. What do you see now? Inko wondered. I now see the pen. If I look at it, it says words. Okay, tell us if you can. Nezu's dark oak, gold ballpoint pen. I also see the words, see more. It's like those blue lines on computers. Ah, click it then. Yes ma'am. Izuku moved his arm, clicking the line and a whole new tab showed up. This pen was given to Nezu more than 30 years ago by Nana Shimura. It was a birthday gift, one he cherished for ages. This got everyone shocked. That was information Izuku had no right to know. Izuku had no way of knowing that name. Or that factor. Oh my, your quirk is something special. Sir Knight, I said with a small smile. Izuku grabbed the pen out once more. It appears out of the blue mist. Here you go, sir. Nezu smiled as he took it. Thank you Izuku. I believe it might be best to save your points. This way, you can see how the stats are altered, over time Oswell. Sir Knight, I said. It depends on what Izuku wants to do in his life. Spending stuff, happy 1 year, Inko said softly as she stepped into the room. It was late at night. Inko, however, was overexcited. It had been 1 year exactly. It was 00, Inko could not wait, but Izuku had been deep asleep. His arm, next to him, charging up. His leg leaning on his nightstand. He turned around, still asleep. 5 more minutes mom. Inko fell silent. She closed the door quickly. Running away. She ran through the house, holding her mouth shut as her hands covered her face. She ran into the garden, where Toshi sat on the porch with Kathleen. She scrolled through her phone. Inko dropped to her knees. Now dropping her hands, tears started rushing out. Covering both Toshinori and Kathleen in water. Drenching them both, as they struggled to get their hands in front of them to protect them from the barrage of water. Izzzzzzzzukukuu, she cried. This got both to worry. Kathleen, still wet, ran across the house. Opening Izuku's door with speed, yet without a sound. Only to see Izuku still asleep. Wah, she said softly, Izuku slightly strewing awake. Looking at Kathleen before falling asleep once more. Kathleen walked back confused. Toshi had finally got the tears to stop. What, Inko, what? Izuku called me Momum. Inko cried. Kathleen bit her finger, trying her best to stop herself from crying. It was something everyone wondered. The name Sir meant nothing but fear to Izuku. Yet every time he called everyone Sir and Ma'am. Everyone was there any reason for it? And Izuku told them. Sir, told me to always call him Sir. He would hit me if I said anything else. You can call us anything you want, Mom, Dad, Inko Toshi, Green, Blonde. Just call us something you are comfortable with. Izuku nodded. He just chose the names. But this showed that Izuku saw them as his parents. This meant the world for Inko and Toshinori. Both could barely contain their excitement. They knew. It was not something he did while aware, but the moment still meant the world to them. Toshinori. Izuku spoke with Toshi turning to look at him. What is that? Toshi had been watching a hero gala. Oh, that. A hero gala. They are held from time to time. Mostly to be aware of a hero who has done incredible work. Today, they are praising a newcomer. The name is Ed Shot. He was able to take down a group of villains. Oh. Yeah, both me and Inko have gone to them before. There should be one we were scheduled to go to, somewhere soon. Oh, why are you not going? We can't leave you here alone. Toshinori said. That gala meant nothing. A place to wave and smile for a couple of hours. The only thing he liked was the fact he could meet up with the top, speak with them and see how everyone was doing. But Izuku's well-being meant 1,000 times more to him. I could go with, or would I embarrass you? Izuku asked softly. Toshinori shook no instantly. Of course you don't embarrass me, how could you? You make me proud every single day with everything you do. Izuku however told Toshi. I want you to go. Izuku hated it. He was stopping them from doing things. He was a burden. They just didn't tell him. Are you sure? Those things are very busy. I know, it's just that I know I need to start getting used to people, right? So I should. Izuku said. He needed them to believe it was for him. He just wanted them to be happy. Izuku sat in a suit. It felt weird. The soft black clothing, the multiple layers. It felt wrong for him to stain. Oh. He looked out the window. Toshinori was driving. Himself wearing a suit. Inko had a nice dress on. Same for Kathleen. Each one dressed to perfection. Driving toward the gala. Most times a limousine would have been sent, however, Toshinori knew this would be better for Izuku. Toshi parked a little away. Each one stepped out. Standing out in the open, and seeing everything, dozens of people looking at the door. Pictures, lights, the spotlight, thousands of eyes. This was more than Izuku ever believed possible. His hand moved, grabbing Toshinori. His small hands, grabbing the massive claw that was Toshinori's hand. See, can we please go home? Okay. Instantly they agreed. Going right back in the car. It was not even a question. Izuku meant 1,000,000 times more than that gala could ever mean. Izuku sat in the car. Trying to take as little space as possible. His head down, tears slowly pouring out his eyes. I am sorry, I ate nonsense, you have nothing to feel sorry for. Izuku needed to know. You should feel proud. The fact you endured all that for so long. And we can always, later in the future, try again, right? Izuku nodded. They could, and next time. Next time Izuku would not give up. 2 more. Kathleen said with a proud smile. Come on. Izuku was lying on a bench. Above him a bar. He was completing a bench press. Come on, 1 more, you got it. Izuku struggled with all he could. Pushing the mere 5 kilograms on each side up. He struggled for his life to just move them 15 total times. You're awesome. Kathleen cheered on as he completed it. Izuku was out of breath as he couldn't move. Only to flinch lightly as he heard an older voice. He looked up. An older gentleman walked past and simply said, nice job, as he walked away. You did great, Izuku. Izuku stood up. His metal arm is visible in his shirt. He had always kept his arm hidden, never visible. And he knew why. Each time, he felt eyes on him. He watched whispers about him. I want to change. This was his first exercise. Okay, the car. Izuku shook his head. Leaving his bottle with Kathleen. He quickly grabbed his bag and rushed into the locker room. Dashing in the shower. Swapping shirts, only for others to walk in. You saw that white-haired kid? Yeah, the one with the metal arm. They were talking about Izuku. He is badass. Bro, I kid you not. He is always here. He pushes me to push myself, you know. His friend agreed. For sure, man. He is just awesome. Coming in every day, working to get stronger, get better. Makes me want to push myself. Hell, I felt sick last week, but I knew he was showing up. And I had to Oswell, you know. True, well, let's warm up. Izuku heard them leave. They didn't make fun of me. Izuku struggled to say. It was weird for him. Everyone always made fun of him. His weird arm. His height. His weight. The way he talked. That he ate everything. But now. These people looked up to him. Izuku quickly swapped his shirt. Wearing a long-sleeved shirt. One that hid his arm. Wearing gloves that hid his hands. Now he looked completely normal. He walked out once more. Only now. Instead of looking straight at the ground. Izuku walked normally. Seeing Kathleen help someone. A tanned girl, seeming around Kathleen's age. She had large white ears at the top of her head. Her feet also looked slightly different. She was doing a squat. Izuku tried not to stare, but she was moving an impressive 120 kilograms up and down. She moved with grace. Nearly sitting on the floor, before getting up without much trouble. You didn't need any help. Kathleen said with a laugh, high-fiving the girl, before joining Izuku again. Who is that? Oh, no idea. She is new. And wanted to try a squat. Wow. Izuku said, shocked. She must be super strong to do stuff like that. Well, let's keep it up, Kathleen said with a smile. Izuku nodded. Quickly finishing their workout. And Kathleen was amazed. From the old records, Izuku had set. He broke. Every single one of them. He was able to do more weight than before. Wow, let's get you some good food to celebrate. Are you sure? We can still turn around. I know, but I want to. Izuku said. They were once again fully dressed in suits. Izuku stood in between everyone. Being smaller than even Inko. Well then, let's go. Izuku nodded as he held Inko's hand. Both Kathleen and Toshinori held off the people. Allowing Inko and Izuku to quickly walk inside. No time to answer questions, both Toshinori and Kathleen followed quickly behind. Well then. Toshi said as he looked around. Oh my, well let's mingle. Toshinori said. Why, you can go. I will just sit. Izuku said. He was getting slightly winded. The number of people made it slightly hard for Izuku. You want us with you? It's alright, I will just sit myself. I don't mind. Izuku said. He needed a moment of peace, and all three knew. The best way to give Izuku peace was to not stand near him. Instead, they moved to the middle. Keeping their eyes on themselves and still being able to see Izuku. However, as Izuku sat down, he wasn't left alone. A girl the same age as Izuku walked up. Holding an orange juice in her own hands that she drank from. She wore a very simple, but appealing, red dress. Her raven-colored hair was tied in a ponytail. Hello. She said, her voice soft. Oh, hi. Izuku said, finding it still hard to keep eye contact, wanting to look at the floor, but also not wanting to be rude and look away. I am Momo Yaoyorozu. She introduced herself. I am Izuku. It's nice to meet you. Izuku didn't know how to introduce himself. He wanted to call himself Yagi, but maybe that would humiliate them, and he didn't want that. I haven't seen you before. Is this your first gala? Izuku only nodded. Momo, sweetie, be a dear and come. We have someone to introduce to you. This is Kathleen Bate. She is a hero in America, and one training to be one in Japan. She knows All Might. Coming father, it was nice meeting you Izuku. Momo said walking off. Izuku saw Kathleen smile, winking at him. Izuku mouthed a simple thank you as he found a different place to sit, one calmer. And further away from the scary-looking man in the corner. One with his arms crossed. His dark red hair was spiky, next to him was a woman with white hair, around his age. Two boys, around Kathleen's age, one with spiky red hair, and one with white hair. One boy and girl around Izuku's age. One girl with white hair and spots, and a boy with split hair, one side white and one red. Most of the family sat on the side of the woman. Being away from the man, apart from the boy Izuku's age. He was placed right next to the man. Becoming friends. Izuku's first gala in his eyes could have gone better. But the rest were over the moon, they could not have been prouder. Izuku, even though he was in a room with a bunch of random people, had stayed there. He had kept the fact he was scared to himself. He was able to power through. We are extremely proud of you Izuku. Inko said as Kathleen placed her hand on his leg with a smile. Everyone was happy for him, and because of that, they allowed Izuku to shut in slightly, to calm down. He kept going to the gym, but that was it. But both Inko and Toshinori knew that Izuku had to push himself forward. Even if he was scared, he would have to get more used to it. If he wanted to at least have a slightly normal life, it was required for Izuku to get used to people. They were in their room, lying in bed. Inko resting on Toshinori's chest. I do think it would be best if we find some people his age. They might look less scary in his eyes. Toshinori said as he had his hand on Inko's back softly stroking it. But then they heard a knock. And Izuku stepped in. Sorry, but I overheard you. I am fine with that, but can I please try with Mr. Shield's daughter? Inko had to hold her tongue. She would choke up if she started talking. Izuku knew Melissa's name but had no. Now seeming smaller and smaller than ever before. Even the likes of Endeavor looked like a stick figure compared to the mountain of muscles that was All Might. And why do you care, All Might? Izuku could feel the amount of hate that Enji had said his name. It enraged Izuku. He disliked this man. You are talking to my son, Enji merely smirked, and what if I don't? I will beat your ass. Oh what, the hero All Might doesn't get to listen to so he uses force. It's not All Might you are talking to, you are dealing with Toshinori Yagi. I accepted your anger as a hero, I will not allow that anger to be directed at my family, so apologize. Toshinori was extremely serious. The hand he still had on Enji kept him in place, even if Enji had tried running away, even if he tried his best to flee, Toshinori would not allow it. I won't do no such thing. Izuku saw Toshinori act. Toshinori squeezed. Veins popped out of Toshinori's forearms, his fingers dug into the flesh, nearly breaking the shoulder of the number 2 hero. I was not suggesting, this is something you are going to do, even if it is the last thing you will do. Izuku hated it. So many people were looking, but he could not move, his body would not allow it. Enji struggled, he felt more and more pain, his arms started to hurt, and he could feel his fingers tingling. The BLD flow was being stopped. There was a moment of silence. Dead silence before they heard it. I apologize, Enji struggled the words out, merely saying the words, not meaning them at all, but he said them. Toshinori let his hand go, Enji stumbled back, he corrected his suit, before straightening himself, and walking away, huffing angrily, signaling for his family to follow, something they did. There was a moment of calm, before questions started being asked, not to pry, but I believed you could not have children, right? Toshinori nodded. Indeed, both me and Inko are infertile, we are not able to have children. But we were lucky enough to be graced with Izuku. What do you mean? Toshinori looked at Izuku. He just nodded. Izuku did not have the best upbringing. And I mean something horrible. Toshinori began. Izuku struggled for many years until Inko and I found him, we quickly chose to adopt him, becoming his guardians. Momo quickly walked over to Izuku, Inko hugging him softly. Momo stood in front of Izuku, looking guilty. I would like to offer my apology. This confused Izuku as well as Inko. Inko was aware that the girl, just like her parents, was nice and fine people, that always meant the best. Why are you sorry? Inko asked. Our first meeting. After the gala I complained to my father, finding you weird and strange. My beliefs were based on your behavior during our first meeting. I want to apologize for making my belief on such a short meeting without ever knowing your full story. I would not feel okay if I kept this hidden. I will try and never do that again. I hope you can forgive me. Momo said, offering a small bow. Izuku could only look, he was so confused and shocked. This had nearly never happened. This was the first ever time someone just apologized to Izuku for something they had not yet done. Momo, thank you for apologizing. Why yes, thank you, but it's not needed. I hope we can become friends. I would like that, Momo said with Izuku nodding. Inko could only smile as she looked over. Hoping this would be a good friendship for Izuku. Being a hero, hello Miss Yaoyorozu. Izuku spoke softly as Momo walked up to him. The younger girl smiled, hello Yagi, nice to see you again. Izuku could only give a small smile before walking toward the corner of the room. It was by far the place he felt safest in. He could easily see everyone. He could look at everyone without anyone coming from behind. And with Izuku having gone before. People were aware of this. And a single chair was placed there. It was so Izuku did not have to pull a chair to the side. Izuku's eyes glossed over the entire room. The small crowd that had always been at every gala once again had shown up. They all gave a small signal to Izuku when they noticed him looking at them. They understood the fear Izuku had for people. They would not push themselves at Izuku, no matter how much they would be okay with befriending the son of All Might and Telegreen. Hey Izuku, here. Kathleen walked up with a water. Izuku used both hands to grab the glass. Thank you, Kathleen. How are you feeling, more familiar? Izuku nodded. I was planning on walking around. Kathleen just smiled as she messed with his hair slightly. Want me around you? Izuku shook his head. You all have done enough for me. Even if you don't mind, I have to do things myself. I have to still do things I am afraid of. DMN Izuku, you're starting to be even more mature than me. Kathleen joked before walking off. She had always kept an eye on Izuku at these galas. Inko and Toshi had done the same. Constantly wanting to see if he was still doing well. Izuku stood up, taking a big sip of the water, before walking forward. He walked slowly, circling the outside but trying to get closer and closer as time passed. But as the door opened, Izuku's eye snapped toward it. He could only blink before his quirk activated ++ danger ++. Izuku had no idea why his quirk said this. Only then did he notice. The man held a gun. His finger was firmly on the trigger, and he aimed it at the group. This is what Hero Sum gets, he screamed angrily. His voice filled with hatred and rage. This was purely revenge for something. His quirk again activated line of sight detected, Momo Yaoyorozu. Izuku blinked as his body moved on its own. He was not the only one that moved. Toshinori, Kathleen, Inko, and Enji all moved first. Each one rushed toward the gunman. But he pulled the trigger. The bullet flew through the air. And it was directed at Momo. Momo's mother Fumika Yaoyorozu yelled as she saw her daughter drop. Only not because of a bullet, Izuku pushed her out of the way. Jumping against her, saving her from the gun, but taking the bullet himself. Izuku. Inko yelled seeing Izuku fall over. The gunman was stopped instantly before he was able to pull the trigger twice. Toshinori was on him, he grabbed the gun. His hand is still around it. Toshinori just squeezed. Completely crushing the hand and pistol into scraps. Kathleen was on him as well, her knee buried deep in his guts. Instantly defeated, they ran right back to Izuku. Inko was on his first. She checked both. "Are you two fine?" she asked, looking over both. "I am," Izuku said. Only to look at his arm. The bullet had hit him straight in the arm. The metal arm had stopped working, only being able to move back and forth, the fingers no longer working. Inko released a breath she didn't know she had. Her heart had dropped believing Izuku had just been shot. "I apologize, Miss Yaoyorozu. It was rude of me to push you, you saved my life," Momo said as her father and mother hugged her tightly as they triple-checked her. "And no, I pushed you." Inko just hugged Izuku. The gunman's action would have dire consequences. The gala had closed down quickly after the fact, the police taking a statement of the heroes. Back at home. Izuku sat on the couch, Inko next to him, holding his hand. Something she had not let go of the entire time. "Izuku, what you did do today. It was reckless, I understand, sir, I won't do it again." "No," Toshi caught himself, placing his way fodder, yet. No matter how many villains Enji burned, no matter how many useless civilians he had saved, he was never able to obtain the number one spot. His goal was repeatedly slammed shut by the hero that was All Might. He needed to surpass him, burn his legacy within the world as the greatest hero that was ever born, yet still, All Might never allowed Enji to surpass him. When Endeavor pulled off the power of the sun, All Might would block the sun out with a greater shadow. Each time his destiny was stolen. That was exactly why Enji had gotten children. He hated them. The crying, and constant need for attention, were a waste of space, but for his legacy, they would be great. Enji found his only flaw, his human body. It could only take so much heat, so he searched for the perfect mix. A way to breed the perfect child. Which was Rei Himura. Enji contacted her father and mother, offering them more money than they had ever seen. Rei agreed, helping her parents out of the horrible crime area and into a place that was safer and better for them. She agreed to the marriage. Which was the worst thing she could have ever done. For the best chance of NSMMTN. They had done so in a lab, Enji never so much as looked at Rei. But quickly Rei got PRGNT with their first child. Toya Todoroki, Enji could not have been happier. He had been born with a stronger quirk than even himself, yet, his body was still weak, it still got burned. In his eyes, Toya had been a complete failure. They tried again. Which brought a complete failure once more. Natsuo Todoroki, born with a quirk that alters his temperature. Completely useless, nothing that would allow the Todoroki name to burn its legacy within the world. But once again. They had a new child, or well two. Fuyumi and Shoto. Twins. Fuyumi was born with an ice quirk. Shoto was born with a fire quirk, yet. Both also had flame and ice abilities. Fuyumi could use ice, just like her mother. Countless waves of ice, slightly stronger than even Rei's herself, but she could heat her body up. The part that made her weak, the fact her body could only handle so much ice before it would shut down, was removed. Fuyumi could constantly heat herself up, which allowed her to push her ice further, to get colder, to get stronger, as long as it was trained. This was strong, yet a failure. The Todoroki flame had to live on. Which was why Shoto was trained to perfection. He had the Todoroki flame. Flames just like his father, just like Enji. Even hotter flames than Enji himself, and where his body would burn up, would scar under the intense heat. Shoto had no such thing. Shoto could cool his body down. The perfect quirk, for his perfect creation. Enji had counted on the worst-case scenario. Where Shoto would have ice and fire, but this was perfect. Mother, I want to train to be a hero. A real one, like that boy, Fuyumi told Rei. They sat in the guest house. Rei and the failures were deemed to live in the guest house. Away from Shoto, no way to corrupt his perfect being. Where Shoto was fed by chefs, given the perfect food that would perfectly work his body. Rei cooked meals for the other children. Where Shoto had personal teachers, teaching him everything useful for a hero of his stature to understand was given by him in the perfect form with a pace that Shoto could decide. As for Toya, Natsuo, and Fuyumi would have to deal with public schools. Where Shoto was trained to be a perfect soldier, where Shoto understood how his quirk worked by the training of Enji. Toya, Natsuo, and Fuyumi had to figure it out themselves. Fuyumi was not the only Todoroki failure who wanted to be a hero. Fuyumi and Shoto were Natsuo was exactly 4 years older at 17, and Toya was 4 years older than that, being in his final year at his hero school. However, he went by his mother's name. "Okay sweetie, let's get you to help people," Rei said, placing her hands softly on Fuyumi's face, her thumbs softly stroking Fuyumi's cheeks. Before pressing a soft kiss on her forehead, "You will be a great hero." Fuyumi just nodded. Welcome again to the 7 o'clock news. I am your host, Big News Morgan. A large bird-quirked man said, standing at a desk. The main story of today happened only a week ago. During a hero gala, a man by the name of Baka Aho entered the gala with a weapon. Before heroes were able to act, the Son of All Might stepped in and saved the only heir of the Yayorozu fortune. He tapped some papers on the desk before clearing his throat. Thankfully, nobody was hurt because of this. We however are happy to know that the Son of All Might seems to be stepping in the footsteps of his father, and we are looking forward to seeing a second pillar stand up. Big News Morgan said, nodding. The story was hot, everyone loved hearing about it. And the actions caused a new generation of kids to have their dreams strengthened.